So now we're going to learn about GitHub. And GitHub is awesome for a variety of reasons. So GitHub is basically like Facebook, but for code. It allows you to connect with other people socially. It also allows you to store all of your code remotely. So there's both public and private, code repositories on GitHub. And with the public repositories, future employers will be able to look at your code and see what kind of an individual you are as a programmer and see what kind of code you write. So it allows you to connect socially. It allows you to back your code up remotely by storing it somewhere else, right? It allows other people, potential employers, to see your code and see what kind of an individual you are as a programmer. And it's also version control software. So it really allows you to collaborate easily with others and allows many people to be working on the same code base at the same time and to avoid conflicts, where people are overwriting each other's code because they checked out the same file at the same time. So it's really great. GitHub's really great. And there's a story behind it, which I'll tell you in the next video, how it came into being. But the first thing I want to do is just show you GitHub. So here's an overview of what we're going to talk about in this video. So you could pause this video right now and you could read this and you could basically read what I just said to you if you want to see what we're talking about in this video. All right, so here's GitHub. And here you can see my GitHub account. And here are all the contributions I've made in the last year. So just visually, you can kind of get a snapshot of me as a programmer. And you could compare this to here's my friend Zeno. And Zeno is a super active programmer. And so you could just take a look at his snapshot and you could be like, okay, this guy is coding a lot and he's doing a lot of commits, And so you could kind of see a little snapshot. And then you could go in and you could look at all the different repositories he has and the different code he wrote. And same with me, right? You can come in here and look at the different repositories and the different code I've written. And so anyhow, that's kind of like what GitHub is about. And it allows me, just like in here, you could go to the HTML CSS bootcamp and you could start looking at this code, or you could download all this code. So it allows you to share code really easily. You could create issues with the code. So you could come over here and you could create an issue. You could say, hey, this code needs to be fixed. And then you would point it out to me and you'd make the suggestion and I'd review it and I'd accept it if it was cool. You could see how many people are following me, and you could also go follow other people. So if you really like somebody's code, you say, I want to follow this person's code, so you can come back and find them later. So that's the essence of GitHub. Let me give you a preview of how it actually works. So this is what you'll be learning in this section, is how to work with GitHub. And you have to know GitHub. If you want to be a good programmer today, you have to use GitHub. You have to understand it. And I also want you to know how to use it from the command line interface. So the command line interface is this right here, where you enter commands, and that's how you interface with the computer, right? Like I'm entering commands and I'm interfacing with the computer that way. That's how we used to interface with computers back when I was a kid. But now we have the graphical user interface, the GUI. So I'm looking at a folder right here, users, Todd Recording PC, WebDog. There's that folder. Here's looking at it with a graphical user interface. Here's looking at it with a command line interface. And on Windows, the command line interface is known as the DOS prompt or the command prompt. CMD is how you often get there, by entering CMD. Right? That's Windows. That's the command line interface, the command prompt, the DOS prompt. So that's Windows. And then over on Mac, Linux, Unix, any POSIX, P-O-S-I-X, any POSIX type operating system, the command line interface is the terminal, right? So that's the terminal over here. And they have different commands. So we're going to learn how to use Unix type commands. Even if you're on Windows, I'll show you how to put an emulator on Windows so that you can use Unix type commands on Windows. And that's just pretty much the standard for programming and for using GitHub. And I want you to use the command line interface, not the desktop piece of software, because GitHub has a desktop piece of software which will make you weak and people won't respect you quite as much. So you got to know command line interface. So let me just show you how it works. And, I'm going to bring up a folder here. So let me bring up that WebDog folder. So here's my WebDog folder. And I'm going to start Notepad, right? And so there's Notepad. And right now I am in print working directory. I'm in my WebDog repo, and I could do an ls-la, and we'll learn all this. And I could see this is a Git repository, because here's a hidden folder. It's hidden because it has the period in front of it. It's a hidden Git folder, and that tells me this has been initialized as a Git repository. So everything in this folder and down within it throughout the tree directory structure, right, is being tracked by Git. It's a Git repo. And so that's a Git repo. And because of that, I could do things like Git status. I could use Git commands. So here I'm using a Git command. And I say Git status, and it says, hey, I'm up to date. I'm going to type in another command, clear, just to clear this out. So this is just a preview. I'm going to teach you all of this in this section. And now I'm going to create a file. This is about, I don't know, it was a dark and stormy night. It was a dark and stormy night. There we go. Famous line from some horrible book. And now we're going to choose save. And I'm going to put that into WebDog. And I'm going to say, excerpt. If I can spell it. Cool. So I just created that. I see excerpt txt right there. And now if I do an ls, I could see excerpt txt is there. And I'm going to clear that out and then do a git status. Hey, you've added a new file, right? This is untracked. Well, cool. Let's add that. Git add -- all. And now if I do a git status, right, it tells me, okay, I'm now watching this file. And now I'm going to do a git commit and add a message. That's what the flag does. And adds excerpt.txt. And that's been added. Now I can do a git push. And I've connected this with my repo at GitHub. So I have a repo at GitHub, which is WebDog. This is just for examples. And now that excerpt txt is up there on GitHub. Whoa, isn't that cool? And not only that, but I could come over here and I could change this. And I could say, something or another Snoopy. And then I could save it. File save. And git when I do git status, we'll say, hey, you've modified excerpt. Okay, cool. Let's add that. And let's commit that change. Modifies excerpt to, I wish I'd chosen a different name, includes Snoopy bit or whatever. And now git push pushes it up to the repo, and I refresh this, and it says now modifies excerpt to include Snoopy bit, and there's something or another Snoopy. And then let's say, I really don't want that, so I'm going to remove excerpt.txt. And now if I do a git status, it says, hey, you deleted it, so I'm going to add this change to my repo, and then commit it, removes excerpt, because I have a hard time spelling the name. And then push that. And then I come back to my repo, and excerpt is gone, but I could come in, I could look at all my commits, and so here's a history of my commits, and I could see, oh, well, here's where I added, there's where I modified. I could come back and click on that commit, and I could see that file right here, right? So there's that file. So it's all keeping track of my code as I'm writing it. And it'll do that with many people working on the same repo. So a lot of benefits to GitHub. That's an overview of what GitHub is and how it works and what you can do with it. It's really powerful, really cool, and it's something you have to know about today if you're going into any type of programming like web development. So I'm going to teach it to you, and it's great. I love it, and you're going to love it. It's very cool.